You are listening to the Bold Dreams Held Loosely podcast, the go-to podcast for soul-led coaches, leaders, and healers. My name is Taryn Watts, and I am a master certified coach and the founder of the Mind Rebel Academy, an ICF-accredited coaching school where we train and support people to fully express their purpose through world-class coaching skills. Join me and fellow faculty member Michelle Theriault as we dive into the world of coaching and model what it looks like to live deeply examined lives. Inside these episodes, we have raw, honest, very human conversations that are expanding our minds, opening us up to new possibilities, and keeping us steadfastly committed and focused to walking our path towards our deepest yearnings and greatest visions. And our intention is that they do the same for you. Enjoy.
Oh, so you want to know what we're talking about today?
Yes, I do. I have no idea what we're talking about today. This is like titled the mystery episode. So what are we talking about today?
Okay. This has actually been on the roster as like a conversation I've wanted to have for a long time. So you know all about it, and we talk about it all the time. Today, I want to talk all about men and everything that goes with men. I want to talk about the things that I love about men. I want to talk about the term we hear all the time, the patriarchy. I want to talk about you name it, all the things.
Cool. I've been wanting, you have such unique perspectives on this. And this is like conversations we've had over Voxer many, many times because I love hearing your perspective on this. And so I'm glad I'm glad that I'm jumping into this conversation, not having thought through anything beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, where do we start?
Oh gosh. Where do we start? Okay, maybe just like a little teaser. Like we'll get into like all the little, I feel like there's so many interesting little things to talk about, but big picture perspective is like, I want to talk about how much I love men, how much I love masculinity, how much I kind of get a little saddened by so much of what I hear in the world about being like, not everyone's saying they hate men by any means, but there's a lot of stuff that's like really not flattering to men, or really kind of devaluing men, or being very critical of men. And I hear so much of it and I'm like, oh, I really disagree. I'm not on the same page as the little messages that make their way to my ears. I feel very differently. And I think that's why I've been wanting to have this conversation so much, is like, again, honestly, obviously, many people love men, but it feels like I hear more messages about the problems with like toxic masculinity and the patriarchy than I do about celebrating men. And I just really want to add our voices to a different conversation about it all.
I am so here for that. We both have little men we're raising.
Mm.
And I look at my little man. I'm like tearing up already. And and I know your little man is like is similar in the qualities that I'm about to explain. But Cooper is the sweetest, most compassionate, most like his heart and his compassion are beyond his age of 10. It's just otherworldly. And I think and I also see all of the messages about men, and I look at him and I see this innocence and it's like purity beyond. Cooper is the purest soul I have ever known in my entire life, truly. And I want to celebrate him and I want him to grow up in a world that like celebrates him,
Yeah.
and sees him. And yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny. I feel the exact same way. If I had to think about every human alive on earth that I know, and obviously a mother is so biased
Of
towards her
course.
children, but I think the same is true. Like I've never met another soul in a human body who is as pure, who like his heart, like William's heart is the purest of the pure I've ever encountered. You know, like goodness incarnate is like how I would describe him. And I not too long ago, I don't know, was it like about a month ago that like I cried to you because I was hearing, about like we need to take and I hear this from every corner of the world in one shape or another. It's like not long in between the times where I hear, let's take men out of these seats and put in other people. Like men, like let's really take men, let's give men less seat at the table. They have too much of a seat at the table. And I cried. It hit me in that moment because I just thought about I thought about William or another little boy hearing that and not having the grown-up mind to understand that, because like yeah, a grown-up could be like, oh well what people mean by that is this, that, and the other thing. Okay, true, yeah. But I'm thinking about a little boy who doesn't have a grown-up mind to understand the nuances and just hearing like, oh, I shouldn't have a seat at the table. It should be other people. And I think about him internalizing that and what that would make him feel. And I just think like how sad and unfortunate. How sad for him, like how much I don't want that for him, and also how sad for the world that like would I would put every dollar in the entire world down on the bet that any table he would ever sit at would be so much better for having him there. I would wager it all. You know what I mean? I don't any argument about anything else to me kind of goes out the window, because if I just like look at he's like a soul here on earth, I believe in his goodness and I don't think that he's less good than anyone else. And it's so important for me for him to it'd be such a shame if he didn't know how good he was and how much he brought to any table he sat at and any room he walked into. And I don't want that to be diminished. I don't want that to be diminished. It'd be such a shame if it was. It would be a pendulum swinging way too far in another direction. You know, I understand the pendulum. I know pendulums swing, right? Um, but I just, my mom always said growing up, would always say, two wrongs don't make a right. Like so and so hit me. Well, yeah, but she hit me first. The response is always, yeah, but two wrongs don't make a right. And it feels like that's what's happening now. The pendulum swinging so far that it's like, because there's been so much wrong and things out of balance over here, the pendulum is swinging to try to like hurt,
Correct. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's too much, and it doesn't actually uh you know equalizing the hurt on the other side doesn't actually bring balance, doesn't actually bring any kind of goodness or balance. And um I I really hope that my greatest wish is that as our sons and all of the sons in the world grow up, I think it would be better for the world if they didn't have to react to the pendulum being way over here. I would like the conversation to balance in a really healthy, beautiful way that they get to hear good things about themselves from the world around them.
We started the MRA as all female. And that was really because, when I was a full-time coach, I was serving just females. And I had a couple male clients here and there, but the great majority of my practice was female based. And so when I launched the Mind Rebel Academy, it was just natural that, okay, now I'm working with females, one-on-one. Now I'm training female coaches. And so for the first several years, the MRA was a female base, like all females in our student body. And I think it was 2021. Was it 2020 or 2021? I can't quite remember. It must have been 2021 where we welcomed our first male into the classroom, and we said, no, we are opening our doors to all. And since then, we're still largely female student based, but we've had these males join our classroom, and oh my gosh, the richness that they bring, the energy that they bring, the perspectives they bring, the also the different like just the different energy they bring into the space. It has been one of the greatest decisions we've ever made as the MRA. You know, and I so enjoy having that male energy in this space. I'm almost like, why? I'm almost like perplexed as to like why was that even a thing before? Like why did I, you know, why I don't even know why. Um but I completely understand, and I feel you on this pendulum swing. And I would love for the conversation to change as well. I'm curious, Michelle, what do you see out there that's adding to the problem? And then maybe we can start talking about like, what is the conversation that we do want to bring forward? Is that helpful?
Yeah. Um, what do I see out there? Oh, like so much stuff that like I part of me doesn't even want to name. I don't know. Like,
Mhm.
um, I think
Maybe it doesn't even need to be named.
yeah, but like let's like paint some broad strokes, right?
Okay.
Because I think there's like slightly different energies of how it expresses. Sometimes, and this is the time where I um kind of have like more understanding and compassion, and I soften towards when you hear someone express from a place of like being so hurt personally, and that hurt has them express sharply or negatively. I find I'm like, I might not agree and I might say, "Oh, it's unfortunate," but I also go, "Oh, I like hear your hurt and I
Totally.
understand why it comes as like a almost like a lashing out." I have such compassion for that, and it's almost like a pure type of lashing out towards that. I'm like, "Oh, I feel your hurt," and like, yeah, I understand why you feel that way. Of course, when you've been hurt that way, of course you feel this way. Like I so wholeheartedly understand it, and I've had many instances of being hurt by men in many different ways that it's just so understandable, and I don't want to like villainize when a woman is like hurt and then is lashing out. It's just such a natural thing to be hurt
Absolutely.
and then to lash out.
Yeah.
I get it. And so sometimes it's that, right? Um Other times where I find it like more problematic and more like, oh, I don't like it is when it goes from an embodied emotional pure response to kind of more like intellectualizing and like making like more intellectual philosophical arguments about why uh masculinity is bad, or a man is shouldn't have a seat at the table, or like, you know, these arguments that intellectually try to make an argument to take men down a few notches. That kind of like gets under my skin more, these intellectual arguments, and I find them a little more insidious because like you can make an argument for anything, and if you're smart enough and careful enough, whether no matter how right or wrong or true it is, people will believe you and ideas can
Mhm.
catch on. And so
Like
I
wildfire, like
yeah,
truly. Yeah.
yeah. And and I see so much of that in the world where like that really good intention. I think sometimes what happens is really like well-intentioned people, like people with such good hearts, they hear an argument that like appeals to their good nature that would make them think, yes, like doing this, taking men down a few notches will be a good thing for women or here. And it's like, oh yeah, I want more good spreads. And it, people like agree with it. And it's not even, it spreads from the quote that's coming to me, like the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I think,
Mm.
yeah, like I think sometimes things spread that way, like with from through really good intentions. Uh, but I still always feel like the core of what's being spread isn't quite right. It doesn't feel true, it doesn't feel aligned, it doesn't feel balanced to me. And there's a lot of stuff out there like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that as a woman, we all have had like live like I think you cannot go unscathed. Like we've all to varying degrees, of course, have had various interactions with that toxic masculinity, like the actual problematic pieces of masculinity.
Yeah.
Um and I mean, and on the other end of the spectrum, oh, I don't if I think about the times I've been most victimized, hurt, betrayed, whatever the word is, it's actually been women. It's actually been women who've who that scale is like largely more women for me anyway in my lived experience. And so, I think you're right. I think that there's a different conversation to be had, and I'm curious to explore that conversation.
Yeah. Um, I just kind of want to double down on, what you were just saying about it, like, I hope no one thinks, "Oh, you got lucky, you were unscathed by men," or like,
Oh,
you've
no,
never
no,
had a
no.
in every realm, like in I don't want to like go into them all, but like just for context, I feel like in the sexual realm, in
Mhm.
relationship realm, in professional realm, in like in education, in like the list is like a little bit endless in terms of experiences, like in terms of like also like imbalances of power.
Yes.
My current perspective doesn't come from a lack of experiencing hurt or a lack of experiencing horrible power dynamics, or it's not because I haven't experienced any of those things. um and I don't even want to say like, oh, but I'm over them or I've healed them. It's no, they're all of those experiences are in me and they make up pieces of me. But even with all of that, the way all those pieces land, the truth for me is that I think what actually very selfishly helps me flourish is um not a world where men come down a few notches or we take more power and control from men or men become less masculine. Like none of those things feel true in my experience. In my experience, I'm noticing the more masculine energy around me, the stronger it is, the more I feel protected, the more I feel leadership, the more I feel like just like strong masculine presence, whether it's in a man or
Mhm.
a masculine presence in a structure or something else. The more I feel that, actually, the more I'm able to lean into my femininity, the happier I feel, the more I'm able to flourish, the more honored I feel. And I think it's such a shame to look at, if you were hurt by a masculine structure or hurt by a man or hurt by like whatever. I don't think the answer is to squish those things. I think the answer is to look at the healthy expression of those things and keep them here, because I feel like I will lose something if men lose something. Do you know what I mean?
What do you let's go deeper into that. I think there's something really really important in what you just said.
Yeah. So there's always okay. like when you're 6 or not 6, or like when you're little and you first see the yin and the yang symbol, and like I don't know if you went through a phase of like drawing it when you're a
Yes.
kid, it becomes
Yes.
a cool symbol. You're like, oh yeah, it's so cool. I really think there's something to this yin yang balance harmony thing. I really, really, really do, on every level. I think it exists in the universe. I think it exists in the world. I think it exists inside of me, right? And everyone has their own personal balance. And for me, the more I learn about myself, the more I get in touch with myself, the more honest I get with myself, the more I realize that truly my happy place on the spectrum of masculinity and femininity is like, I really like to be on the feminine side of things. I remember in I don't know if it was like where it was in the coach training, but when I was your student, you gave us this list of all these different words. Yeah. And like first you read a list of like masculine qualities, and then you read a list of feminine qualities. And you just had us kind of close our eyes and feel which words resonate. And for me, it was so clear. I was like, oh, I love these. But everyone actually had a different response, because everyone's happy place on the spectrum, or like the balance of their yin and yang, is different, right?
Yeah.
And I remember hearing the list of like feminine qualities, and some of the words I was like, oh, I think my brain was like, you shouldn't like this word, it's like a bad, but I was like, but I do. Some of them were like volatile and irrational, or like
Erratic.
like,
Chaos.
yeah,
That was on the feminine side.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I love it. And my brain was like, but those are bad things, right? But the truth is like, oh, I love that. I love being in that energy. I love the like ups and downs, and I love all of it. And I very much realize that every human, the world can't be like, yes, this is what I like. I want the world to operate more like this. I want to be able to like do all of this. If everyone did that, if everyone lived in their wild feminine all the time, the world would be unlivably chaotic.
Yes.
Unlivably. There'd be so many like crimes of passion, and there'd be no like legal system. There'd be no structure. We'd throw away clocks, and like nothing would function. We'd be so inefficient. It would be horrendous. And so thank goodness that there are humans on the polar opposite side of the spectrum who are so masculine, who don't live in their focused and driven and direct and clear and structured and conscious. And thank goodness, because I don't want to hold that energy inside of me a lot, but I don't think it's but it's so important. And so the men who are like, I like being this way, I don't want to get in touch with my emotions as much as you. I think that like, and sometimes we give men a really hard time for that. Even I can think back to when I was younger. I used to be like, oh, I just want to be in a relationship where like they can like understand my feelings, and they could like, we could just connect in this way. And like, I just imagined I imagined a version of a man who was a lot more like me. And I thought that's what I wanted. Like, let's just talk about our feelings all day. For some reason, I imagined that in my romantic partner. And that's not at all where I've landed, by the way. But I think that there's such a compliment. And as soon as you try to take men away or make them more emotional or less like driven, or even like, sometimes there's like a sharp, like we could think of certain men or like energies as like callous and just disconnected from feelings, and too, I don't know, numbers driven, metric driven, cold, calculating. As soon as we diminish them, pull them away, make them be a different way, move more towards the way the feminine sees things. Soon as that happens, there still needs to be a balance, whether those men are there or not. So, what that requires of me is to conjure up more masculine energy inside of me so things don't go off the rails, right? So, like me and other whatever women are at the table, or, um, then I need more masculine energy to keep the balance, to keep things from going off the rails. And I don't want that. I don't want that. It's not that I can't. I don't think I'm incapable. I'm just not happy doing it. I don't feel free doing it. I feel tight and restricted and tired and like, ugh, like I don't want it. I don't want to be structured. I want structures to hold me so I can flow in them. I want masculine energy to keep things on track, and I want to come in my chaotic way and let my creative energy flow when it wants to flow. I love that. I feel so self-expressed. And so I would never want someone to take that away from me. I don't I so would resent. So I actually have many times deeply resented the implication that to be a good person or, a functional human, I must cultivate more of the masculine qualities. I must be more organized. I must be more structured. I must just have a little more discipline and grit and resilience. And you just keep doing what you need to do. I hate that. I resent it. And I imagine that there's men out there feeling the exact same way from women being like, you need to be more feeling, and they're like,
Mhm.
"Ugh,
I
I'm
don't want to.
I know. I
Not the
wanna
way I
be
operate.
yeah, I wanna be
Yeah.
efficient, I wanna be effective, I wanna get things done, just let me do it, trust me." Um, and I think there is such a beautiful, perfect balance in that, and I don't think you can mess with the amounts on one side of the yin and yang without affecting the other. There, like, has to maintain a balance. And I also just want to say I recognize that there's going to be a lot of women who don't resonate with me, who their internal
Mhm.
balance is no, but I love my masculine qualities. I'm not saying I'm definitely not trying to say all women are super feminine and
Completely, yeah.
land on this side and all men are this. Like they're think about how sensitive like William is, and I think like, oh, he's probably always going to be in touch with his feelings more than
Absolutely.
some men,
Yeah.
right? um so oh gosh, I could just, yeah, so many things. I could just keep going and going and going. I feel like I could probably just never stop talking.
Should I read the masculine feminine list?
Okay. Do you have it?
I do. I'm going to pull it up here.
Okay.
Wasn't prepared for this. Okay. So I found it. This is uh, just to give a little bit of context. So I did a masterclass for alumni and for students probably about a year ago when I was starting to dive into masculine and feminine energies and like what is the divine masculine? What is the divine feminine? And also looking at like what is also the wounded feminine and the wounded masculine, and where do I still feel wounded by both ends of the spectrum? Because for me it very much exists. I've experienced the wounded masculine, and I have experienced an enormous amount of wounded feminine as well. And so, where did I still have like what are those pieces within me, and how do I recognize that? So, anyways, so okay, so I want to guide all of our listeners and us through this kind of just this like fun exploration of our relationship to the divine masculine and our relationship to the divine feminine within us. And like you said, Michelle, I think it's important to note again that like regardless of your gender identity, that like this is an exploration of the these polarities of
Mm,
energy that exist within us. And they're based on these ancient archetypes of the feminine and the masculine energies that exist within each of us, like that yin and that yang. So even someone like you who identifies with the feminine energy, like all the feminine words I'm going to name soon, like you identify so strongly with that, but you still have like that speck of masculine and you just like the dot in the yin or the yang. I'm not sure. I am no expert in this, by the way. I'm not sure which is it the yin that's feminine and the yang that's masculine? Do you know that, Michelle?
The yin is feminine and the
Okay.
yang is masculine, I think.
Okay.
Yep.
So if the yin, if you think about like that one side of the yin being feminine, it still has that yang dot in it. So we all have these varying degrees of energy within us. And we have access to the divine feminine and the divine masculine energy inside of us. But I guess the teachings are, and my personal experience is as well, that you have one that is generally more dominant inside of you than the other.
Mhm.
Okay. So the divine masculine energy inside is things like structure and process and logic and action and boundaries. Um, divine masculine fiercely protects. It holds the container. When I think about coaching, because I like to also think about the balance of feminine and masculine energy in a coaching conversation. So can you imagine a coaching conversation that didn't feel like it was being held
Mm.
and it was just so open and fluid? The conversation could go anywhere. I would feel as a client, I would feel chaotic inside of that. I would not feel safely held. For me as a client, when I'm with my coach, I need to feel like the boundaries of the conversation, the structure of the conversation, it's like, ooh, it's like fiercely protected and firmly held. That's the masculine energy in a coaching conversation. That's the arc of a coaching conversation that we teach our students. The way, a really talented coach transitions from one area of the arc to the next. It's the structure that holds the conversation. Containing and holding a safe space for the divine feminine energy to rest, to receive, to flow, to create, to express, to feel, to like birth like worlds out of nothing. Like we need that the container of that.
Yeah.
So and of course both masculine and divine energies can either be expressed in healthy ways or expressed in wounded ways around us. All right, so I'm going to read a list.
Okay.
Okay. First, we're going to start with the divine masculine. And I'm going to read a list of words. So we're going to explore this yang energy. I hope we're orienting to that right.
I hope
you know
so.
what I mean. Yeah. So if you're listening and it's safe to do so, as long as you're not driving, maybe close your eyes.
I'm going to close my eyes.
Okay. Or just orient your attention inward, or just lower your gaze, or just do something to maybe like take a couple deep breaths here, getting into safety in your body. And maybe if you're not feeling particularly safe right now, maybe just pause this and come back to this episode when you are. And I'm going to read a list of divine masculine words. And I just want you to pay attention to how this feels inside. Protect, secure, structure, leadership, action, instincts, drive, inner power, resilience, strength, decisive, progress, pursue, provide, give, strategy, bold, resourceful, problem solving, brave, logical, disciplined, habits, impulse, taking charge, stability, centered, assertive, present, humble, vulnerable, adventure, mission, risk-taking, challenge, goal-oriented, determined, loyal, doing. So the questions, I just want to offer 3 questions for reflection for the listeners here. Feel free to pause this so you can actually reflect on these questions. But how do you feel inside the divine masculine energy? How do those words make you feel? How can harnessing this energy serve you personally? And then for all of our coach listeners out there or space holders, how can harnessing this energy serve you as a coach? Michelle, what happened to you when I named all those
Well,
energies?
what actually happened to me is I started smiling.
I know, I
I
saw you.
I was like, "Oh." Um, when I hear those things, I shouldn't say I can't find any of them inside, because there's certain ones that, like, it's like I take little, like, droplets of little pieces of those, and there's certain drops of those that feel really powerful to, like, have little drops of those inside. But for the most part, when I hear that list, the list exists outside of me, not inside of me. Like, I don't find myself in that. But I started smiling because it's like all these qualities, like you were describing my partner with, and I was like, "Oh, I love these qualities. They're not me. I am not that list. I am the opposite of that list." But like, what a beautiful list. What a beautiful way to be that I am not. And I am so grateful for those qualities in other people. I'm so grateful. S- I'm almost like grateful to the point of being in awe that someone could embody those qualities and that's actually their truth. I'm like in awe and so thankful, because those are such beautiful qualities, but like I can't, they're not me. So thank God there are people like that who can like hold all of those way more strongly than me, except for me being like, "Oh, I'll have a little drop of that and a little drop of that," I um and again, I'm not saying it's only men who can have those qualities, but
No,
like,
yeah.
but to have that energy strong in the world, that masculine energy strong in the world, just strikes me as such a good thing. And the stronger it is there, the less I have to conjure it. And that seems like utter perfection. So, like, the more those qualities surround me, the more I'm like, "Oh, there's enough I'm being so protected. I don't have to worry about protecting myself, so I can be soft." I want that. I love that. I oh, yeah. That makes me happy to have those qualities around me. Just not in me so much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When I hear those qualities, um, I I many of these qualities, these masculine qualities, I've had to these masculine energies, I've had to over the years in entrepreneurship have had to call on. I'm not sure it's I wouldn't say it's my normal state, but I can operate well in this energy, and I've had to resource this many of these qualities as an entrepreneur. And over the last couple years, I've realized that because this is actually not my normal, or my, I shouldn't say normal, but my natural state, the amount of energy required for me to resource up here, it's a lot. And
Mhm.
what it feels like physically is exhaustion and a little bit of burnout, right? Because I'm like, oh, calling on my discipline, I'm calling on my problem solving, I'm calling on my assertiveness and my leadership and my decisiveness. Like, I don't think those are my natural states of being, but I can operate very well and very efficiently there. So a couple of years ago, I started to recognize this, and I started to call in, and I started to ask myself the question, well, what would I need to have in place as an entrepreneur so that I can rest more in my feminine, I can create more, I can actually operate as an entrepreneur and as a leader in my most in my happy place,
Mm.
you know? And so that involved creating structures, creating, like I actually had to ramp up my masculine energy to get systems and things in place so that I could rest more easily in them. But I'll tell you, one of the best decisions I ever made, and I really hope Kaylee is listening to this right now. One of the best decisions I ever made is when Kaylee, a member of our team, Kaylee came onto our team, and she was at first when she came on, she was just like the yes woman. Like, come into all the team members, where do you need help? I will plug in gaps for you. And she was just kind of taking on all these pieces where there was all these holes, and she was just filling all these holes. And then a couple of years ago, I asked Kaylee, what do you like? If you could take a piece of the MRA and just love it and nurture it and steward it, and like, what would you want to do? Because she had her hands in everything. And she said to me, I would take care of all of our finances. I would do accounts payable, accounts receivable. I would do our bookkeeping. I would be essentially the CFO. I would hold all of the financial pieces, our budget, our cash flow, our all the things, our invoicing. And I was like, oh my, it's like probably the thing I hate the most. I just like, ooh, I want it to be efficient and running beautifully and smoothly, but good Lord, pouring my energy into that, like the amount of resourcing I had to do within to ramp myself up to do those things was exhausting me. Her taking that on, like one of the best things that's ever happened to me as an entrepreneur. And I hope
Yeah.
she's hearing this, because I cannot tell Kaylee enough how much I appreciate her. And how she has taken something that she's passionate about, and with the structure and her logical mind and her decisiveness and her accountability, and just brought in so much value to the MRA and to me as an entrepreneur. It's just, oh, it's and I trust her implicitly. I trust her I trust her with everything, like with everything. There's no secrets. There's no nothing, like, I trust her completely. And what that makes me do is go, oh, I know it's taken care of. I know that this really important piece of our business as an entrepreneur is taken care of, like as a business is taken care of, so that I can focus on what I'm good at here,
Yeah.
which is not that, you know? So I have the utmost respect and reverence for the divine masculine, the utmost. This morning, my husband had been away for a couple days at a trade show. And so for the last couple days, it was just me and the kids. And I don't know, I felt like we're out of kind of little out of routine. And, I'm in a phase in my cycle where I've got lots of emotions going on, and I've been kind of feeling a little like, just like a little off centered a little bit, and like discombobulated. It's not just because he was gone, it was other things going on, but it's just like taking the kids here and there. And I'm used to having like another partner to help me with these things. And this morning he got home last night, and this morning I was journaling, feeling my emotions and journaling, and he was like up and at it, and he was about to go, he's heading out the door at 6 a.m. to go to jiu-jitsu, and he's just telling me about, I'm going to have an awesome day. I've got this meeting and this meeting and this meeting. It's like the opposite of my energy. And he left the door, and I was like, I just felt like a harmonious balance come back into my life. You know what I mean? And
Wow.
the divine masculine is so important to me because it helps me to relax into my feminine.
Yeah.
I have such a deep respect and reverence for these qualities.
I wholeheartedly agree. Uh, y- you know, what it makes me think of is like, I just want to go back to that, the conversation around kind of like women can do anything a man can do. What is it? It's not even a message in the world. I feel like there's some people with megaphones being like, women can do anything a man can do. And I think that is absolutely 100% no
Of
qualifications
course.
true. Right? Like,
Unequivocally.
of course.
Absolutely.
And um I remember and like I guess we're lucky enough to be born in a time
Yes.
where uh,
And a place.
yeah, time and a place where I don't have any memory at any point in my life of ever hearing, thinking, feeling that there was anything I was not capable or welcome to do or pursue. All doors are open to me as a woman. And not only that, people see my capability so much that like there's the expectation you should go exceed and excel, like succeed and excel, like yes, you could be this, you could be that. And I still I like remember I have flashbacks to being 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 17, 21, 22, and just always the feeling in my body is like people think I feel like I'm gonna let people down because there's these expectations of like, look what you're capable of. You're so smart. You could do anything you want. Like, go be successful. Go do these impressive things. And the feeling in my body was always like, I don't want to. Am I not living up to my potential? Am I wasting my capabilities? Am I a disappointment? Um, and I have actually and I'm sure there are so many women out there who like their happy place was like, yes, I will be the CEO, I will be the most impressive lawyer, I will be the, I'll create this, I'll create that. But for me, and I'm guessing some other people, but for me, what was true is like just because I can doesn't mean I want to. I don't want to be, when you're describing Sean's energy leaving, I was just like, wow, thank God there's people that get shit done and be impressive. But like, ah, I don't want to do that. It's like, and I've felt like as amazing as it is that I've never felt like a barrier to do anything I want. What's come with that is whether it's real or I've just imagined it or whatever, I've also felt like this pressure to be something that doesn't make my heart happy. I've really felt that pressure. And I've felt it more from women or female groups or like people who are pushing female empowerment. I felt the pressure to pursue things that don't actually make me happy more from the feminine side than the masculine side. So strangely in my life, instead of I'm sure I don't know how many generations or decades ago, I'm sure a lot of women felt like, oh, men are holding me back or like the patriarchy is holding me back. My reality has actually been is like, ooh, this like this pressure coming from women is like it's like holding me back from my happiness, which is really interesting, like the real barriers I've faced in my life in terms of pursuing what I want to pursue, from self actualizing, from being happy, from being expressed. The barrier has actually been um the messaging of women need to rise to be um not only like equal to men but like more like the same, like
Mm.
the same, the same, be more the same, rise your masculine qualities, take the same jobs, be in the same roles, if anything, like get above them, like I have felt and heard so much of that, which to some people might have felt wonderful, but to me doesn't feel good at all. Like, I just think, thank God there are the Shawns of the world getting shit done. Thank God. And the truth is that, like, I think it's amazing to I'm like, "Oh, no." There's probably a lot of people who are gonna hear this and think this is horrible, but it's just the truth. I think if I could pick my perfect world, um, I would allow lots of spaces where there were men who are getting shit done, and they felt like, protective over women and like, "Don't worry, I've got this, you don't have to." Oh, I think that's the best thing I've ever heard, and I think if I would have heard that more, like, "Oh, don't worry, I've got you. You don't worry, you don't have to be strong, I will. Don't worry, like, you can I'll protect you. Don't worry, like, I have," almost like, this is gonna maybe be a triggering word, but, like, the concept of ownership and, like, "I am responsible for you. I've got this." I love that. I love that, and what I realized is my mind didn't know that. My mind had all sorts of ideas, but through the past couple years of, like, really getting in touch with myself, learning about myself, being honest, my body loves that. Like, that's just the truth. My body, my heart, my energy, when the energy comes in of like, "Don't worry, I've got this. I am going to be protective." There's a sense of ownership of, like, not in like a bad way, but like, maybe I'll qualify that a little bit more in a second, but um I I'm I'm the leader here. I will guide us. I will protect you. My body can't lie. That is what I want. And I think that it would be a really healthy, lovely, balanced thing for women to also get to hear that, like, oh, that's okay too. There are places,
Mhm.
if that's your happy place on the spectrum, there's nothing wrong with that. So thank goodness for the men who are like, yep, I'm gonna lead and take charge, and it's not shameful. I think that's what I really needed to hear, and what I need, what I think would be a healthy balance is, it's not shameful to want to live way more in your feminine and feel taken care of, feel protected, feel supported, feel like someone is taking action on your behalf. It's not shameful. So there has to
Yeah.
be room for that. There has to be room for places and spaces and people to choose anywhere on the spectrum that they want. And that happens to be my happy place. Um, and that wasn't super loud when I was growing up. It was the opposite. It was like, "Go be an astronaut." I'm like, "Oh, that's scary. I don't wanna do scary, dangerous things. I don't wanna work super hard. I want someone to say, 'Don't worry, I'll always protect you. I'll figure it out.'" And okay, yeah, I
Mhm.
love that. And, for a long time, I thought there was something shameful and that I was weak because that's what I really liked. And I am still in the process of leaning into that and being like, "Oh, that's not shameful. I'm allowed to love this. I'm allowed to let this make me melt, and I'm allowed to let this make me happy, and I'm allowed to, like, lean in further and further." And that is liberation to me, which is
Mhm.
wild. It probably sounds like the polar opposite of liberation to some people, but to me, that is liberation. And I want this conversation about men and women to include this beautiful piece that to me is the most freeing, expansive, glorious. It feels like heaven on earth to carve out a little thing for me like that. And I think it's sort of a shame to only talk about the world in this way of like, take down the patriarchy, take men out of positions of leadership. Um, sure, make room at the table for everybody, but like, uh, let's just also honor those places where there are men who want to be driven and leading and acting, so that the people who want to be cared for can do it without feeling ashamed. Like the women who just want to like take care of their babies and plant flowers and, you know,
Take care of their chickens.
yes, and creatively express and, um, what a luxury it is to spend time looking inward and exploring my emotions, to have the time and space to rest and self actualize and explore. That is such a luxury.
Yeah.
Like, it is a luxury. And to have that luxury, the structures and the people to support that need to be there. And I think that is like one of the most precious luxuries in my life, and I want more of it. Right now, I'm like, how do we keep moving in this direction? You know what I mean? Like, I hope my partner and I like keep going like further down that road. And I I think that in order for that to be true, certainly I can't be hard on my partner and his qualities. And it also helps if like the world isn't, like if that's what I want, then I almost imagine like I with, like, appreciation and reverence for the divine masculine and men who are expressing the divine masculine, like, that's actually what they deserve is, like, reverence. Like, "Oh my gosh, this man who is doing these things," and, like, men deserve reverence in the same way that women and every human deserves reverence, and I think there are some men who are such beautiful, powerful examples of the divine masculine that unfortunately they're hearing these messages in the world about like the toxic masculinity and too many men in positions of power, take the men down, which is such a shame, right? Like, I hope those men who are expressing such pure divine masculine qualities, it's like I hope they're not deterred from hearing the 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 other messages, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for being so honest, Michelle.
Yeah.
It was like very brave of you to be this honest because
Mm.
I'm sure that like that perspective is so can be polarizing, and and I think that the reason, that well, first and foremost, I think that what's so important about what you just shared, it's like an invitation for people to turn down the noise of the world and the opinions being expressed and the messages being expressed and really getting honest about what you want and like what is your happy place
Yeah.
and like you said your body can't lie you know um and I think everyone's answer to that question is going to be different and unique because we are all as unique as a thumbprint and so I my own personal journey with this is, I worked in the corporate world for many, many years in a predominantly male leadership, a lot of wounded masculine energy that I've experienced in that area and in that world, in many corporate spaces. I also worked in the restaurant industry for a long time. Whew, a lot of wounded male masculine energy there too. Um, but working in an environment that I just like, I didn't fit in. My feminine didn't fit in, and I would have to really harness my masculine to get anywhere in this company.
Mhm.
Like though, if I were to have internalized those messages that yes, like yes, women deserve a seat at the leadership table. Like, yes, absolutely, women deserve a seat at the leadership table. And man, some of the women that rose to the leadership table, I was like, I bow down to you. I am like in adoration of what you have done because you had to work so much harder in this system to get to that table than a man would. And some of the men that got a seat at that table was like, are you kidding me? You know, it's just like, come on. The system is broken, right? We all know the system is broken. However, the amount of energy it would have required me to like resource to get there, it was just so, it felt so hard and exhausting. And I, I just, it was like a hard no in my body.
Yeah.
Like my mind could have convinced me that that's what I wanted to do, and I probably could have gone down that route. But it was my body was like, "Ugh. Oh, like no, please don't take us down that. Please mind, do not take us down that route." That is a recipe for burnout. It is a recipe for like, you know, very long hours, not a good work-life balance, all the things. And so for me, entrepreneurship became this window of opportunity where I get to create a business in my feminine energy. And I get to create the system. I don't have to try to fit myself into a system that I don't belong to. Like, I don't have to fight the system. I can just like, see you later, leave it. And I wish you all well because like I don't have the energy to fight that system. I'm going to go create my own entity over here, and I'm just going to like create it the way I want to create it and like be
Mhm.
the literal master of my destiny over here. And for some people, that's not the right path. Like
Yeah.
for some people, the right path is to stay in the system and create change within the system because that's the right path for them. There's no right or wrong. Like everyone has their own path. And so, you know, one thing I really don't like when people point fingers and shame and your path is wrong or what you want is wrong because that's not what you want. Like
Mm.
what is that? Like what is this? And I think it's just gotten so loud because the world is so freaking loud with their opinions and this and that. And I think what we need to do is we need to spend more time getting curious about what we want, like what our truest path is,
Mm.
despite what these people over here are saying or doing, and like without shame and with and the more we can do that for ourselves, the more open we are to hearing other people's paths that are very different than ours without
Mhm.
being triggered by it or without yelling, "You're wrong." I think I just went off on a tangent there.
Oh, no, no, I wholeheartedly agree. This is my inkling, this is an opinion. I think that one of the reasons why some women have really been striving to pursue just like all of these impressive positions that let's say like the women who maybe it wasn't truly in alignment. People want to feel accomplished and respected and admired and capable and just all the good things. And right now in the world, or for a long time in the world, that came from particular things. Having a baby and raising a baby wasn't celebrated to the same degree, didn't carry the same esteem in society as being a CEO, right? It was like,
Mhm.
great, yeah, like you can stay home and have kids and that's great, but like the world isn't celebrating that. You as a mother aren't walking down the street being people being like, created a child? You are holding oh I'm imagining dinner parties. It's like the men being getting all this like having
Accolades
all
and
this
yeah.
clout, right? And um being a mother or tending to a garden, no one was giving you anything, right? So the reverence or the awe and the wonder wasn't there for that. And of course women have so much to I feel like I have so much to I think I'm amazing. I think I'm a gift to this world. I think femininity is like such a gift to this world and I think it deserves to be honored, and I think women deserve so much reverence. And me awkwardly trying to say like, oh, I don't know if like I just this push towards all taking all the seats from the men, like it just I'm very awkwardly when I awkwardly try to express that, it's not, I don't think women are less than. I think women are glorious. Like, I feel like part of me leaning into my femininity is like every time I lean more in that direction, I just experience myself as more and more and more glorious. And I think that is absolutely part of the healthy balance of like when we stop, like when like the battle of the sexes ends. I think having women in places, in organizations where the divine feminine can come through and inform some of the pieces. I think that's the natural balance of society that we are like aiming towards. It's not a patriarchy or a matriarchy. It's not here's what it is. I think it's not um let men keep control, or it's not like let women take control. I really do think it's like a true marriage of divine masculine and feminine. It's a true yin and the yang. I just think there's a place for everyone. And but I think that being really honest about what it is you really like, being honest about who you really are, what your soul desires, what your skills are, what energies feel most natural and good to express through you, what jobs you really want to do. I think that's really beautiful. But to me, that feels really different fighting something. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Maybe that's what it is. I don't resonate with this like fight to put women places, fight to I don't resonate with that piece. Like that I don't resonate with that piece. But being honest and being fully self-expressed and building what you want to build, I think that's incredibly beautiful. I think there's a real, I don't know if this is true or not, but it seems like there's actually an explosion of female entrepreneurs. When I look at social media,
Mhm.
it to me looks, maybe it's just maybe I follow
Oh, we
I
follow a lot of
follow
coaches. Yeah.
yeah, or just like women, you know what I mean? But how beautiful that like when you're building your own business, when you're building your own life, you don't have to fight anyone to build what you want to build. You get to build anything you want. And if it works, and like if what you're building works and is sustainable and you love it, then that will spread and that will grow and people will see what you're doing. People will that will inform the world. Like the world will see that something that actually works and helps to balance something else out, that will, I believe that will grow, that will catch on. Whether that's a business, whether that's the way you live your life, whether that's like, I don't know. You know what image is coming to my mind? Do you remember the movie the 300, is it called the 300? It was about like Sparta.
I've never seen it.
No, okay. It's like from a really long time ago. It was down to 300 men against thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands. And they held this pass against this massive army. So it's a very super, um, uh, warrior, masculine culture. The men are going off to war. It's just the men, right? They're protecting their families and the village. And there's this little pass that they defend, and they defend it and they hold it miraculously against all odds because of just how strong and tough and just like wildly warrior, you know, culture that they are. So there's a moment in the movie where something happens. I think somebody does something and they have to decide. I think it might have been a messenger. The man has to decide what he's going to do. Is he going to let him go? Is he going to kill him? What is he going to do? And very subtly, he looks to his wife and she gives a like a subtle nod, and that's the nod, okay, you kill this man, right? And there's something about that. I think there's I think if I was going to think about, yes, I'm talking about all the things I love, like I love my chickens and I love to garden and I love to be like protected, but I think that I and all like all this divine feminine energy, I think It's so powerful in the world. And I think it's really powerful, almost like kind of in that way. Like for me, if I could choose how I want to express my feminine energy in like a greater way in the world, it's embodied in the quality of like that the wife of that woman,
Nod.
like the nog, this I've checked in with my heart and my body and my wisdom, and like, yes, you have my agreement. I love that. Like that, I think is, ooh, like that's the balance I want to find in the world, right? So to me, it's the balance I want is not like, I don't want to work more, the masculine wants to work, but I want the masculine to check in with me and be like, is this an alignment? Like, what does your heart say? This is the direction I want to take us. This is how I want to do it. I want to like, I'm checking in with like, are you on board? And because the divine feminine is like so honored in that way that like, we need to, and it's the agreement between the two. I think that's like the most powerful thing. That's the dream I want to hold. I don't want to work harder. I don't want to take all the jobs. I don't want to do all the things, but I want the masculine like check in with like the divine feminine and be like, "Yes."
Let me read the divine feminine words. Let's like soften into the divine feminine and just see how what that makes you feel in your body. Okay. Ready? So you can close your eyes, you can lower your gaze, whatever feels safe, whatever feels comfortable, just kind of orient inward. And check in with yourself when I list these words out. Okay. Free, flow, soft, abundant, receive, trust, intuitive, fluid, sensual, creative, pleasure, feeling, allow, expressive, connected, unfolding, radiant, compassionate, nurturing, worthy, non-linear, wise, aware, passive, inward, wild, ease, surrender, sensitive, emotional, vision, flexible, beauty, imagination, spacious, magnetic, loving, gentle, playful, creator, open, heart, wonder, curiosity, still, being, healer, passion, grace, desire, calling in. So just take those words in and think about, how do you feel inside the divine feminine energy? And the next question to reflect on is, how can harnessing more of this energy in your life serve you personally? And then for all the coaches out there listening, how can harnessing this energy serve you as a coach or entrepreneur? All right, Michelle, what came up for you in those words?
My body almost wanted to sway. I'm like, yes.
I think I was swaying as I was
Yes.
reading it. Yeah.
Oh, it's like everything. It's like, if though that feels like life, it feels like what I want to breathe in and breathe out every day. It feels like freedom. It feels like life is beautiful. It feels like that's all I want. That's all I want to flow through me. That's everything. It's like that's the most beautiful list of words I've ever heard. That's all I want. That's who I want to be and who I feel like I am in my cells. And anytime I'm unhappy, it's because I'm veering off of those qualities. And when I come back to those qualities, everything makes sense. And I feel like I am who I'm meant to be, and I'm happy and I'm expressed. And it's like air. Those qualities sound like air to me, like breathing, like living. And Oh, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to express here?
When you were reading that list, like one thing that I just think the list you read, I think the list of words, I think that list of words sounds so beautiful. And I'm thinking about the words, and also vision. Vision stood out to me in that list. And having like a vision for my life, having a vision for the world, and having that vision be and feel so beautiful is like a piece of, I don't know, it feels really important to me personally. Like, and I think about how much I admire beauty, and I think about how much I enjoy having my beauty admired. Like, I think about the way my partner looks at just me, or what I do, or how I live my life, and like the sense of appreciation, because he looks at me in the same way that I look at him, and I go, look at your drive. Look how tough you are and strong you are, and the way you protect me, and the way you like jump into action. The way I marvel at him when I am in my full divine feminine, when I am like soft, and the more I am like this list of words, he looks at me like, who is this
Mhm.
creature? And he is like, he is the polar opposite, right? So he looks at me and he's like, you're different, but I like you. Like it's like this beautiful feeding of this yin yang thing, and like this cycle, right? Like the more I look at him and allow him to be strong and take the lead in these certain ways, and I can just feel safe and relaxed to my feminine, the more he looks at me and goes, oh, you're beautiful, and like I want to like provide for you, and I want to take the garbage out for you, and I want to go chop wood for you. And then the more I'm like, oh, it's just this beautiful like thing that I hope keeps like increasing. I almost like, I love like I love that polarity, and I want it to like even like get even more. It's like there's bad kinds of polarized, and then there's good kinds of polarized, and I love that. And I think the feeling of being admired for those qualities is so satisfying to me. Like that brings being admired for my true self feels way better than being admired for a false self. Because when I'm like, I think back to like being in school. I had like this large phase of my life where I was like, well, I'll be the smartest and I'll get the best marks. And I was able to do it. I can do anything I want to do. Anyone can do anything they put their mind to do. I wanted to be like the best in it. And there was like this very surface level satisfaction to that, was like, okay, yep. But it didn't make me happy. It was just like, it was like a strategy. It was like a coping. It was like a protective, it was very guard energy. You know what I mean? Like my guard energy was like, yep, be the smartest, get good marks. That'll be really safe. Look, people are like, oh, you're smart. Teachers are like, oh, you're a good student. I'm being kept very safe, and I'm surviving in this world. But with it always came constant anxiety and fear, because I was really like trying to generate energy that wasn't this natural flowing energy. So it like wasn't really satisfying. So all of the like praise about how smart I was, or how good my marks were, or what a good student I was, or how capable I was, or how intelligent I was, it fed a sense of fear, and like this feeling of like I can't really receive this praise, because it's like I'm like faking it. This isn't even me. As soon as I like show my real self, I'm gonna let everyone down. It's very unsatisfying to me. Um, and the feeling of being admired or praised or appreciated for my true self, oh, it's like that. There is nothing like that. Um, there's nothing like that. And being in the feminine for me feels like it never feels like I'm trying to prove something. And it's like true, uh, the more in order for me to allow the feminine qualities to flow through me, I first have to honor them for myself and go, okay, I'm going to choose softness right now. I I'm going to believe that softness is so valuable and I'm going to choose it. And then that gives my partner or the world the opportunity to look at me and say, oh, that softness is valuable and beautiful. That feels so healing. That is so healing to me. It's helping me regain a sense of worth that I've always been searching for, like true self-worth. It's so healing, and I feel like I have more to go on that journey. But if it's so healing for me, I gotta believe it's gotta be healing for some other people and the world, like sinking into who I really am. And so, like, yeah, just a massive part of my healing has been um being worthy or wonderful or like, or valued, like just having value and worth has is is not about competing with people who have different qualities than me. It's not about trying to be more like the men that the world values. It's it's this path, and um I just really, really, really think that taking the focus away from fighting men or masculinity or fighting the patriarchy and pouring it into how does the divine feminine want to express in me and then out into the world? Oh, I think that would be just I think that's so healing. I think it's and probably going to create something new that's never been seen before. Like, instead of fighting for this is obvious. Okay, this is not gonna apply to everyone. And also I just want to say, like, really sorry to the people I probably offended for saying things in like not the best way. I was trying to get my words out. But the way it occurs to me is forget fighting for the shitty jobs at the table that are like that the men are doing. Let them keep doing that. Like, I don't want to work harder and be driven and hold the roles and hold that responsibility. I don't want that. Let them keep that. When more women allow more powerful feminine energy to flow through them, what are they going to create? Probably something so powerful and unseen that, like, forget fighting for those jobs that men have. Like,
Yeah.
what is going to be birthed through us if we like lean in, lean in the direction of femininity? What's going to be birthed from us? Something new. There's like, you don't have to fight for something that's already there. Something new is coming, some new beautiful balance that like allows these polarities to exist. And um I think it's really okay to acknowledge the differences in the differences in the desires, or like where you fall on the spectrum of masculine, feminine. We don't have to be the same, and it's like, okay, yeah, I've found so much freedom and so much healing in measuring my worth differently and and leaning so hard into these divine feminine qualities.
I also think one of the greatest superpowers of divine feminine is the divine feminine's power to heal.
Mm.
And as you were saying, like, imagine a world where more women were, or more humans were expressing their divine, like really expressing their divine feminine. And what just like the image I had is the ripple effect of healing the wounded like that is how we're going to heal the wounded masculine and bring the divine, like the masculine energy back into harmonious balance, is not by fighting it, but by the feminine, divine feminine rising, that without trying to be, without forcing it to be, is the most, I think that is the most healing energy on this entire planet.
Mm.
I think it's the most powerful healing energy on this planet.
Yeah.
Like the ripple effects, without trying and forcing it to be, you know?
I do. And I think there's like a connection there to like the healing of Mother Earth.
Yeah.
I really do. Like there's I think Mother Earth is uh, I think Mother Earth is like the divine feminine. I really do. There's probably some balance in there, but there's something about the healing of the divine feminine in us, the healing of Mother Earth, and like things coming into balance. I think there's a connection there. And I agree. I think the ability that we have to heal ourselves and bring our own balance, and like, it's like, what a superpower that we can take healing into our own hands. I totally believe that. I totally believe that we have the power to heal ourselves right here, right now. Structures don't need to, like, what if structures or whatever doesn't need to change first? Like, what if our healing is so powerful that the ripple
Yeah.
just
It's
causes,
the ripple. Totally. It's
yeah.
the ripple. And that's what we say, right? At the MRA, we say that a human stepping into their power, whatever that is, creates ripples of change that will be felt for generations to come.
Anything, I totally monopolized this conversation.
I
Anything.
love that you did. Leading up to this conversation, I said to Michelle, my brain's foggy. I'm not really sure what I want to talk about. I actually want to hear you today, and I want to like be part of your conversation today. And I loved this conversation, so thank you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's tricky to like, oh gosh, it's like, it's really tricky to express the nuances clearly in such a delicate topic where so much pain has been,
Yeah.
and also there's just like an unlimited amount of possibilities and perspectives and paths and balances that like express through every human. And so I'm just really aware that this is the way I see it, things. This is the way I experience things in my body. These are my preferences. And like, I'm just one human. And there are so many people whose paths are so different than mine. And I don't think when someone feels like a true, I don't know, when you get in touch with yourself and you hear what your soul's telling you and you feel your desire, I, there's no one who can tell you that that's wrong, no matter if it matches anything else that exists out
Mhm.
there. And I always think no matter what, I think that needs to come out on top, regardless of any ideas. Like today, we're talking about, you know, personal things, experience, truths for us, but also like some ideas. And I think what's most important is that ideas never, ever, ever get in the way of what your own heart and soul want. That would be a shame. If someone's
Mhm.
ideas, like my ideas, could be so empowering to me and make me feel like healing and freedom. And even if they like sound kind of true or compelling, the most important freeing thing is just, what do your heart and soul want, and don't let anyone else's ideas ever get in the way, right? Because like the world needs to be a tapestry of different people.
Ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And freedom of expression of ideas without screaming and pointing fingers and shaming and correcting and canceling. And yeah,
Okay, good.
thank you for sharing your ideas with us. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. If you are drawn to the MRA, it's more than likely that you are the go-to person for your people. You are here to deeply impact the lives of those you love and serve. And the MRA's mission is to support you in your life's work. To learn more about our suite of trainings, including our renowned flagship coach training, leadership trainings, and continuing coach education programs, please visit our website at www.themindrebel.com.